From refugee to renegade, how authentic leadership transforms lives and legacies welcome. Trailblazers and changemakers. Today, we're diving deep into the transformative power of leadership and culture, guided by the extraordinary insights of Mesale Solomon. Now, if you haven't heard of Mesale, buckle up because you're in for a treat. This woman isn't just a C-suite executive, she's a force of nature, a leadership alchemist who's turning the corporate world on its head. Imagine this. A 9-year-old refugee unable to speak English lands in the United States. Fast forward a few decades, and that same girl is now a powerhouse in the C-suite, revolutionizing how we think about leadership and organizational culture. That's Mesale's story, and let me tell you, it's not just inspiring. It's a wake-up call for every single one of us who's ever doubted the power of resilience and authentic leadership. Now, you might be thinking, great story, but what does it have to do with me? Well, my friends, everything. Because what Mesale has uncovered in her journey from refugee to renegade leader is nothing short of revolutionary. And today we're going to unpack it all. Let's start with the truth bomb that Mesale dropped on me. Leaders set the tone for organizational culture, and culture determines whether a company thrives or struggles. Mind-blowing, right? But here's the kicker. It's not just about strategy and performance metrics. It's about creating an environment where people feel valued, engaged, and empowered to do their best work. Think about it. Have you ever been in a workplace where you felt like a cog in a machine, where your ideas were dismissed, your potential was ignored, and your soul slowly withered away? Yeah, we've all been there. And guess what? That's a culture problem. More specifically, it's a leadership problem. Now let's flip the script. Imagine walking into work every day feeling energized, valued, and ready to conquer the world. Imagine a place where your ideas are not just heard, but celebrated, where your growth is nurtured, and where you're empowered to make a real difference. That, my friends, is what happens when leaders prioritize culture. Mesale shared a fascinating example from her work with the Refugee Career Pathways Program. Now, stick with me here because this is where it gets really good. This program, run by the Office of Refugee Resettlement, helps refugees build careers in the U.S. Sounds simple, right? But here's the thing. It's a masterclass in leadership and culture building. Picture this. You're a skilled professional in your home country. Maybe you're a doctor, an engineer, or a teacher. Then circumstances force you to flee to a new country where your credentials aren't recognized, where you don't speak the language fluently, and where you're facing a job market that's completely foreign to you. Talk about a challenge, right? This is where leadership comes in. The RCP program doesn't just throw these refugees into the deep end and say swim. No, they create a culture of empowerment and growth. They offer personalized career development plans, counseling, and even help evaluate foreign credentials. They provide educational opportunities, apprenticeships, and language training. But here's the real magic. They don't just focus on getting refugees any job. They focus on helping them build careers that match their skills and experience. They create a culture that says, your past matters, your skills matter, you matter. And guess what? It works. Participants aren't just finding jobs, they're building careers and achieving economic self-sufficiency. Now, you might be thinking, that's great for refugees, but what does it have to do with my company? Everything, my friends, everything. Because what the RCP program is doing is exactly what great leaders do in any organization. They create a culture that values people, that invests in their growth, and that empowers them to succeed. Let's talk about another example that Mesale shared, the BlackCEO Podcast. Now, this isn't just any podcast, it's a movement. It's a platform that's empowering Black entrepreneurs to launch, grow, and dominate in their industries. And let me tell you, it's a perfect example of how leadership can create a culture of success and empowerment. Think about the challenges that Black entrepreneurs often face: limited access to capital, smaller professional networks, and systemic barriers that can feel insurmountable. It's like trying to climb Mount Everest in flip-flops. But here's where great leadership comes in. The BlackCEO Podcast doesn't just talk about these challenges, it provides solutions. It offers masterclasses in entrepreneurship, covering everything from securing funding to building a rock star team. It's creating a culture of knowledge sharing, of mutual support, of we're all in this together. And the results, they're phenomenal. Listeners aren't just getting inspired, they're getting equipped with the tools and knowledge they need to succeed. They're building businesses, creating jobs, and changing the face of entrepreneurship. That's the power of leadership that prioritizes culture and empowerment. Now, let's talk about Mesale's own brainchild, the Proverbs Leadership Institute. This isn't just another leadership training program, it's a revolution in how we think about leadership and organizational culture. Mesale recognized a big problem in the corporate world. Too many organizations were struggling with disengagement, high turnover, and underperformance. And why? Because they were neglecting culture. They were focused on short term gains and forgetting about the people who make those gains possible. So, what did Mesale do? She created an institute dedicated to developing leaders who understand the importance of culture, leaders who know that their behavior sets the tone for the entire organization, leaders who prioritize people as much as they prioritize profits. And the results, organizations that have worked with the Proverbs Leadership Institute have seen improvements in engagement, productivity, innovation, and retention. It's like they've discovered a secret weapon, except it's not secret at all. It's just good, authentic leadership. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, this all sounds great, but I'm not a CEO. I'm not even a manager. How does this apply to me? Now, well, let me tell you something that Mesale emphasized. Leadership isn't about titles, it's about influence. It's about how you show up every day, how you treat others, how you contribute to your team and your organization. You see, culture isn't just created by those at the top, it's created by every single person in an organization. Every interaction, every decision, every attitude contributes to the overall culture. So whether you're the CEO or the newest intern, you have the power to influence your organization's culture. Think about it. Have you ever had a colleague who always had a positive attitude, who was always willing to help, who brought energy and enthusiasm to every project? That person was a leader, regardless of their title. They were contributing to a positive culture. On the flip side, have you ever had a colleague who was always complaining, always negative, always looking for shortcuts? That person was also influencing the culture, just not in a good way. So here's Mesale's challenge to all of us. Reflect on how you're showing up in your organization. Are you contributing to a positive, empowering culture? Are you leading with authenticity and intention? Remember, leadership is a responsibility, not just a position. The way you behave, the decisions you make, the attitude you bring, it all impacts not just your work, but the people around you. It's a ripple effect that can transform not just your organization, but your entire community. Now, let's talk about authentic leadership. Mesale emphasized that the most successful leaders are those who lead authentically, aligning their actions with their values. They don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. They don't just manage people, they inspire them. They don't just focus on business metrics, they invest in the people who drive those metrics. Think about the leaders you admire most. Chances are they're not just skilled managers or brilliant strategists. They're people who are true to themselves, who have a clear set of values and live by them. They're people who inspire others, not just through their words, but through their actions. That's what authentic leadership is all about. It's about being real, being vulnerable, being human. It's about admitting when you don't have all the answers, but being committed to finding them. It's about creating a culture where people feel safe to be themselves, to take risks, to innovate. And here's the thing, authentic leadership isn't just good for people, it's good for business. Organizations with authentic leaders see higher levels of employee engagement, better performance, and more innovation. They attract and retain top talent. They build strong, lasting relationships with customers and stakeholders. So here's Mesale's challenge to all the leaders out there. And remember, that's all of us. Ask yourself these questions. Are you modeling the culture you want to see in your organization? Are you creating an environment where people feel safe to innovate and grow? Are you fostering a culture that attracts and retains top talent? These aren't easy questions to answer. They require honesty, self-reflection, and a willingness to change. But here's the thing. By taking these steps, by committing to authentic leadership, you can begin to build cultures that not only drive business success, but also elevate the lives and careers of the people around you. And isn't that what true leadership is all about? It's not just about achieving goals or hitting targets. It's about making a difference. It's about leaving the world a little better than you found it. Mesale's journey from a young refugee to a C-suite executive and founder of Proverbs Leadership Institute has reinforced one powerful truth. When leaders create cultures of belonging, resilience, and excellence, they don't just build successful businesses, they elevate people's lives. That, my friends, is the true legacy of leadership. So Here we are at the end of our journey together, but really it's just the beginning because now, armed with these insights, it's time for action. It's time for a revolution in leadership and culture. I challenge each and every one of you to be the change you want to see in your organizations. Don't wait for someone else to create the culture you want. Create it yourself starting today. If you're a CEO, take a hard look at the culture you're fostering. Are you truly prioritizing your people? Are you creating an environment where everyone can thrive? If you're a manager, think about how you can empower your team. How can you create a mini culture of trust, innovation, and growth within your sphere of influence? And if you're an individual contributor, remember, you have power too. Your attitude, your actions, your words shape the culture around you. Be the colleague you wish everyone else would be. Start small if you need to. Maybe it's as simple as expressing gratitude to a coworker or speaking up with an innovative idea in your next meeting. Maybe it's taking the time to mentor someone or being vulnerable enough to ask for help when you need it. Whatever it is, do something. Take action. Be intentional about the culture you're creating. Because here's the truth: the world doesn't change in big dramatic moments, it changes in small, everyday actions. It changes when ordinary people decide to do extraordinary things. So I leave you with this question: what will you do differently tomorrow to create a culture of belonging, resilience, and excellence? How will you show up as an authentic leader regardless of your title? The future of leadership is in your hands. The culture of your organization is your responsibility. The legacy you leave is up to you. Remember, in the words of Mesale Solomon, when leaders create cultures of belonging, resilience, and excellence, they don't just build successful businesses, they elevate people's lives. So go forth, be authentic, be intentional, and create cultures that change lives. The world is waiting for your leadership. What are you waiting for? Thank you.